Oh, and there's no echo.
Happy Friday, everyone. Here we are with Roy Dickan, Betty Withrow, and our guest Val Low today. And our topic today is clarity in your branding and messaging. And Val is our special guest today. And maybe Val, you can introduce yourself and what you do.
Sure. And nice to be here yet again. I'm Val Low, as Greg mentioned, and I work with entrepreneurs to help them to get bigger revenue, bigger impact in their business and their lives too. And I'm also a Map-It creator, which I can show you a little bit of that as well. And what I like to do is obviously bring clarity to entrepreneurs so that they can get on and do what they do best. And I mean, there's a process in between. And that's what I like to do is just take that clarity, put it onto paper with visuals, and I can show you that in a bit. And then let's implement that plan. So that's what I'm all about, Greg.
Yeah. And I think clarity and on your website, I'll just pop it up just quickly here. Yeah, I think the one that there's simpler online workflow. I've been thinking of that this week. Is we tend to make things way too complicated.
We do.
Way too hard. We freak ourselves out, right? And sometimes it's simple. I was just thinking, most of my most successful landing pages have been one spot, couple of, maybe an image, maybe not even an image, one or two sentences, and a buy button. So I think the problem is if you got something that people want, it's a lot easier. It's just when you're trying to make them think you want it, then that's when you have to do a whole lot of extra work. But,
exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, maybe Roy, you want to kick in on this, and then and then Betty, and then we'll get the conversation rolling with Val more. Yeah.
It's real easy to be unclear, so clarity needs to be something we work on. I like what you said about ads and the clarity there. Yeah, I found also that a simple image with a few words and a button is probably the best way for an ad, because anything more than that, they're not going to bother to read it, and it's just going to go by. So clarity in ads is important, but clarity in everything is. And I think as Greg, you mentioned earlier before we got started here, that we need to think about it in all areas, because in almost all cases, we can be a lot more clear.
Yeah, easier said than done sometimes, right? To be clear.
Yeah, especially when we think we're being clear and we don't give anybody else an opportunity to make a comment on it. We may be totally way off base.
Yeah. I like the phrase "clear as mud."
That's what I am sometimes.
So Betty, want to chip in here? Because you're actually the that's part of your process, is getting
the clarity queen
at the start of the writing process, right?
Well, as Roy mentioned, it's so easy to get in your own way and be as clear as mud. And especially if you're not ready to listen to what anybody else has to say, then you're really going to be steering your boat onto the sandbar. So, getting clear is actually the main thing, because once you have that, then it starts to develop some momentum. A lot of times people really don't know exactly what they want out of their messaging or even out of their business. So that's I keep saying this, and I'll say it again. What do you want this to do? Whether it's your writing, is it your business, is it even something in your personal life? What's the central goal that you want to accomplish? Focus on that and really look for the things that are going to amplify that and make that happen, and let the other stuff go. One of the things I like to do is identify your top 5 priorities, and your bottom 5 priorities, the things that you really don't care about, but they're still in your life anyway. Okay. So, right. And then really focus on your top 5 priorities. Do that, look at them one at a time and make that. And then in the middle, there's the rest of them, the stuff in the middle. The top 5, middle 5, bottom 5. Okay. Focus on the top 5. Let go of and figure out ways to get the bottom 5 out of your life, and the rest of them will take care of themselves. A lot of times just getting rid of something that's really hanging you up is going to give you an immense amount of clarity. So that's part of the process.
Yeah, part of the process. I was thinking sometimes with a client, I had a graphic designer friend, and he said, I don't know what I want, but I'll recognize it when I see it, right? So that's how you go from a $500 to a $5,000 or a $50,000 project when you've got somebody like that. I think Val could probably relate to that more than we can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
what Betty pointed out in clarity reminds me of something that probably a lot of people don't think about, where you got to be clear, and that's in choosing your niche. Because if you can be clear about your niche, you could be clear about the person you're actually selling to. That would really be powerful. And like you mentioned, the other stuff will come along anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going after a specific person, if you can imagine a specific person and you could be that clear, that would be the most powerful market segment you could have, I think. So I hadn't really thought about that before. I'm glad you worded it the way you did, because that's something else that I need to give more thought to.
I'd just like to thank Greg for giving us clarity of sound.
Oh yeah, well, yeah.
There's all kinds of clarity here.
The guy downstairs has decided to do some power saw work here.
Oh.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Val, what are your steps to getting clarity with your clients?
Oh gosh. Well, Betty, you said it so well. And the first thing is, obviously, what do you want to do? Like, what is that thing? And even sometimes getting clear on that thing is difficult. I mean, I've spent some time with some clients, and it takes a while. And as you know, the three of you know, I do visual business mapping, so that's how I bring everybody into one little picture. For instance, this is a year program or a year plan for someone. And there's a lot of pieces in here, but you know what? There's a lot of clarity too. There's the top 3, top 3. Here's Q1, 2, 3, 4. And here's how I get to my mountain over here. I mean, it's pretty straightforward if you can get that clarity. And then, oh my goodness, sticking to it. I think that's the piece that you'd mentioned, Betty. That's the first step, getting clarity and keeping the top 5. But the next obvious step is sticking with it, staying on track, following through. And that's why I love the visual business mapping, because you've got that plan. I mean, as entrepreneurs, we get distracted. We see this shiny object, we are running off after it. And the maps give you one place to look at. You go, oh yeah, here's where I am. And this is what I should be doing now. And I'm going to put everything else in the parking lot for now. So that's what I like to do. And if you got some visuals going here, I could show you. I mean, a lot of times people start with a mind map, and a mind map is a great place to start to get everything out of your head and put it on one piece of paper. And then you can get a little deeper, the SWOT analysis. And I'm sure you're familiar with that as well, SWOT analysis. Customer journey, where are you taking your customer? Like, where are you going with them? But the one thing that I've had great results with is I give this to my clients and I say, okay, what is it you want to do? What's that big thing for the year? Then what are the 3 things that are going to get you there? And sometimes that's all they fill out, is just that one big idea and the 3 things that are going to get them there. I worked with a client, a builder, and we went through this process one year, And then the next year we brought up this paper that he had, and he said, well, let's have another, this next year we'll start with your new idea and what those 3 things are. But we would look at the old one and he went, oh yeah, the first one. Oh yeah, did that one. Next one. Oh yeah, did that one. Oh yeah, did that one too. And that's all he'd done, is just written those 3 things on the paper. So it's so good to just get clarity on what you really want to do, and then follow it through.
Yeah.
Do we have a question here?
Yeah, Maurice has a question.
Visual mapping?
Yeah.
I never heard of it. What is the first visual exercise called?
Okay, well, visual business mapping. Some people mention it. I haven't coined that word, but I'd like to say I have. So it's a very new phrase, but it's just taking all your ideas and putting them on paper. And visual facilitation is really what the overall picture of it, the great big picture is, because people actually go into organizations and they'll take a whole wall, a whiteboard wall, or a bunch of flip charts and fill them with these visuals. It helps people to see ideas better, and it brings their ideas out onto paper as well, or onto the whiteboard. And I forgot the last part of that question, but that's what visual business mapping is. What is the first visual exercise called? Not sure if you mean the first one that I held up. I don't know, this one. If I held this up, this is called your visual business map for the year. That's what I call it. And it can be different for everyone. I mean, the template can be the same, but it's different for everybody else and what they're going to follow through and do throughout the year. Mm-hmm.
So
I love the one you put up that was the timeline of where a prospect is at the time that you first meet them, and then where you can take them.
The journey?
Yeah, that one. That's
Exactly.
powerful. If we can imagine that much easier with a visual,
Mm-hmm.
we can understand where we want to go with that client.
Yeah. And I just did take some clients through their customer journey and map that all out. And it was a really enlightening experience for them. They got really clear on who their ideal client is. I mean, the CEO said, oh, so my client is this person. And he just listed a few things. And it was just that clarity that you get. And then you can market it to people so much better once you get that clarity of what their process is, who they are, their journey, how you can take them through that and make the journey even better for them.
There you go.
Yes.
Visual mapping for the year. I love it. I do too. Thank you, Maurice.
So we may, as Total Traffic and Conversion, we may have a mission for you. We were talking with a potential collaborator, and he was looking at our sales page and said, there's too much stuff on there. So if we could put it into one simple infographic, maybe with the first thing I thought is that I think we could probably reduce it to 3 main elements, like a Venn diagram of some sort. So that may be your mission, to try to simplify us to one image.
Well,
we need you, Val. We need you.
That's my superpower. So use me.
Yeah. And actually, I guess I'm gonna maybe talk out of turn here. We're talking with Maurice. Maurice and I are doing a number of projects, and Betty and I just met with him for a book project, and there may be some need for some illustrations in the book. So we had you in mind. So.
I think that's a great idea. I think your illustrations could be much better than what we normally see, because they would have meaning. They would have much more meaning than the typical book illustrations or photographs or whatever they are.
They have personality. They're kind of fun, right? So
that's right.
They're not look like they mugged somebody at Harvard or something, for these images.
Right. Not another table full of statistics, please. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me the top 3 numbers. That's all I need.
Yeah. I mean, we need statistics at times, sure, but the top 3 numbers, that goes along with my top 5, your top 3. I like that even better, because the simpler it is, the better. Then you can really get the clarity. And like you said, that your client who just said, oh, check, I did those. That's good for everybody. That's
Yeah,
really
outlines and checklists are really a great thing.
They are. They are.
yes.
Absolutely.
Love the checklist because I go, oh, I finished that. Where can I check it off? And I go, I didn't write it down. Okay, I'll write it down and I can check it off.
I know what you mean. I spent all morning telling people I would do things, and then I went, wait, I better go back through the transcripts and write them on a list so that I know what I told people I would do. And
Oh, yeah, that might help.
little check marks, right? And not confuse my brain, because then when I kind of go, oh wow, here's everybody, and then I'm like, no, it's all right here on the paper, Betty. It's cool. You can do this.
Yes. Yeah.
It gives a lot more emotional stability to the creative process.
I love that. Emotional stability. That's a great phrase.
Emotional stability, yes, that's
Well, I think
again
all
easier said than achieved sometimes.
yeah, that's what I mean. Don't we all need some of that as entrepreneurs? Sometimes you're like, hang on, like I've just been sitting in this chair for how long, and how many people did I talk to? And like I said, what did I say I would do? Oh, okay, here it is. All right, I feel good now. I can do this. Right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be like not a pretty sight.
Not good to forget what you said, because it might have been taken as a promise by the other party.
It is a promise. I mean, these are clients, and this is one of the reasons why I record things, Roy, so that in case my physical memory doesn't serve well enough, I can go back through the transcript. Yeah. Gotta do it.
So where are you sitting now, Val? Because you mentioned the Okanagan, but you're not in the Okanagan.
No, I was just referencing your sand and water there.
Oh,
I live on the western coast, north of Whistler, which is north of Vancouver, BC. Yes, Little Valley. You brought up the picture of me on the mountain. That's actually where I live, and I'm on the mountain, and down below is the valley where our little village is, and it's just a spectacular. Yes, you can see the village down below. That's where I live. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty spectacular.
Pretty spectacular. And Pemberton's famous for offering to house the Jamaican bobsled team if they had made the 2010 Vancouver Olympics. They didn't qualify that year,
right.
but Pemberton offered to put them up, right? Had some resort, the whole town in there.
Yes, yeah. We had a great big sign outside town. Home of
the Jamaican bobsled.
Yeah.
Nice.
The other thing about Pemberton is there's even though it's in the middle of the mountains, they have a slow food cycle tour that I've been on a few times, and you putter from farm to farm, and there's a distillery on the way. Is it still there?
Yes. Yes, it is. And you can get burgers there now too. Burgers and beer you can get as well.
Yeah. It's the kind of cycle tour I like. You get there and you meander for about 5 minutes and stop and drink and eat something.
Yes. And there's about 1,000 people come through the valley. I mean, our village is only about 3,000 people, but there's 1,000, sometimes 1,500 people on bikes that go all the way up the valley. It's several miles, like 20 miles or so, and back again.
Yeah, it's basically, I think it's about 22 kilometers round trip, so about 16 miles or something. Yeah.
How far up the mountain is the place with the distillery and the burgers and beer?
It's not up the mountain.
Yeah, the thing is, once you get to Pemberton, it's as close as being flat as you can almost get. Like, it's almost unbelievable how level it is. So you don't have to even go up hills there. I've gone on other cycle tours, and we've been going up and down hills like in the Chilliwack and Agassiz areas, but Pemberton is surprising because you're following the river. Really, you're following the grade of the river at that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Roy's like, give me the specifics.
I'm getting, I got to pull them out of you, but
right. We want some clarity here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, clarity. Well, I was thinking, if there's a distillery halfway up the mountain, might be tough to get to the top.
And you could drive to the distillery if you don't want to go on a stinking bike.
I was
All right.
thinking like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or you could get a horse. There's horse tours.
Oh,
too.
horse too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, then you don't have any issues if you have had
Yeah.
an extra beer.
Exactly. Just running, just
Take
falling
care.
off the horse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're not supposed to get on a horse if you're going to fall off it.
And I think the other thing the valley is famous for are potatoes.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not sure it is now, but it used to be the seed potato capital of North America.
Yeah.
And so, which
Is
is the
that
small,
right?
which is the small potato that people use to grow the more potatoes.
Oh,
Yeah, and they still ship them all over Idaho and just all over the states and into Canada as well. And hundreds, you wouldn't believe there's hundreds of varieties of potatoes, hundreds,
Hundreds.
and
Yeah.
they're always making new ones too. Pretty interesting, huh?
There we go.
Let's get clarity on that.
I don't think there's a giant potato at the gates yet, but anyway.
No, but we have what do we call him? Spudman or Mr. Spud or Mr. Potato. He's in the parade every year.
Oh, nice. All right. And Mr. Potato. Fond memories. I love my Mr. Potato. That was so cool.
Yeah, I remember mine.
Yep. Oh, boy.
So yeah,
No one may know what we're talking about.
you've achieved a lot of clarity on the potato.
Yes, it's good for business. Well, it's good for dinner, maybe not business.
Potatoes are good for you. Yes. Yes, they are.
Yeah, I actually sometimes I could have a 4-course meal with all 4 potato dishes and be perfectly happy. I know people who don't like potatoes at all, but I'm a potato fan.
Too bad for them.
Too bad for so sad.
Sad. Right.
There's a place in Vancouver that has basically, I think, 30 or 40 varieties of poutine. If it's still there, it might not be there anymore. But anyway, a lot of things kind of went by the wayside during COVID-19. But
Yeah, it did. There was a place that did hot dogs, and there's a special one that they created. It was like, I think it's $100 or $1,000.
yeah,
It was $100 hot dog, and it had everything on it, even including caviar.
yeah, all sorts of things.
That definitely bounces the price up.
There's a food truck in Vancouver called Japa Dog.
We have a question here from Maurice.
All right.
Hey, oh, there we go. All right.
He's tired of hearing about potatoes.
We got to stop this.
Get
We got to
on
get clear on this.
Right?
Okay, actually, we can probably provide various perspectives on this question here. For one, Betty has it from a writing point of view, what branding looks like. And then I think, Val, you've got a visual image kind of idea about what it is. And then the rest of it is all your marketing, posting, and social media. And that's kind of the thing overall we've been encouraging people to do, is have a consistent message, basically a consistent message all across the board. And mostly that could be in the images or it could be in an approach. How's you go? So maybe, Val, you're our guest. Why don't you chip in on this?
Well, the first thought that comes to mind is consistency. I mean, your brand obviously needs to, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, you don't have to go out and make logos and, all of those pieces, expensive website, but you need to be clear on your brand and your messaging throughout, just like you mentioned, Greg, and that it's going to flow through all your platforms. Because if you got one look over here and one message over there, and people just get confused. So it really needs to be, we're talking about clarity here, you need to be really clear on what your message is, and then that goes through all your platforms, all of them that you've been asked about here.
So does that answer your question, Maurice?
And Maurice, I think what counts is, where do your ideal prospects hang out? Because we got to make sure that the message comes to that group. And if it can come from many different directions, that's great. But if they're always, on YouTube, for example, you've got to be there because that's where they are most of the time. but more than likely they're in several places.
Yeah.
And when you can hit them with a consistent message in several places like YouTube and Google and LinkedIn, that's where the power comes in with the branding, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And actually, I know, because I've been working with Maurice, he does a pretty good job of this. Yeah, he's got a YouTube channel, he's got social media platforms, and he's pretty consistent with doing it. And we're just working on doing more.
Yeah, that's always good to do more.
Yeah. And I'd just like to add in that I think Maurice is talking about a business and the brand of the business, but it's really important to have personal brands now. I mean,
oh yeah,
statistically, people, when they look at a larger organization, they want to see who that person is. That's the brand, the personal brand, like who's there. That's the figure that's, being exposed to them, because that's a really important piece as well as your personal brand.
I agree. People want to deal with people, and the company's important, and the brand of the company is important, but maybe more important is the fact that you know who it is that's behind that brand.
Mm-hmm.
And the better you understand that person, and the better you like that person, the more chance it is you're going to actually do business with that brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I would add to that being who you really are and being completely authentic in your brand is what people are really looking for. We all know there's a lot of hustling going on, a lot of people saying one thing and doing another. If you just really be who you are and realize that you're not for everyone, the people that do recognize your message and resonate with your message are going to recognize you, and they will be your people, and they'll be loyal. And you'll be satisfied and happy working with them. If you try to be everybody's everything, it turns into a mess. Don't do it.
Yeah. Big mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's very good. And we were just talking about this with just a little while ago with Maurice, actually, is that he has a book in mind, which is kind of technical about mortgage note investing, but he wants to spin it with his personal journey, right? So it's factual information, but it's also what it's meant for him and his family too. And that's where people can relate to it. It's somebody personal. It's a human journey, and it says, well, if he can do it, we can do it too, right? So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that.
In writing, I'm ghostwriting a couple of books for two authors who are completely different, and each one of them has a voice that's unique, that carries their message. And so while I'm writing with them and editing with them, I have to be sure that I'm keeping that conversational tone, or that brace up bucko tone, or whatever it is in the writing, because that's that person's personal brand, and I don't want to dilute that. I want to amplify that.
You have to have a split personality on the days you're working on both of them.
Yes, I was wondering too.
Good point, Roy. But actually what I do is I block it out. So I'm working on one stream, hopefully one per day, depending on the complexity of the project, and don't jump from zone to zone as we were talking about earlier today, because that's crazy making, and it doesn't make good writing.
Yeah.
Not happening.
I think we tend to, I think Betty and we tend to work like in chunks, right? So you've got this half an hour or an hour, and you've got this one hat on, and you're just going to do it for an hour, and then you take a break, and then change directions, change hats maybe. And
that depends on the intensity of the project. If it's something that's really intense, I'll tend to want to really stick with it even several hours until I feel like that's as far as I can go with that one. And then I'll put it aside, take a break, and say, all right, hopefully I already have it mapped out, and then go, okay, now what?
Yeah, if something is intense for me, I like to do 4-hour chunks, because I can really get into it, and maybe the last 2 hours are really the best. but then that's about all. I can't really go any further than that.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say the other thing about having some variety is because sometimes you can only do the one thing for so long and then your brain melts down, right? So if you can jump off, and what do they say? A change as good as the rest.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true. And especially if there's projects that are at different levels of intensity. Okay, say one is really drilling down into the voice, or like you have a non-native English speaker and turning it to American English, kind of a challenge. But then going to something that's much, much simpler is a refreshing thing. So it's like you said, Greg, a change just lets your brain know, okay, you're off duty. Was it at ease?
At ease, yes. As you were.
As you were, however that was. Maybe you can remember, but yeah.
Changes are good, but also there's a amount of time it takes to get into the next one once you've left something. And that's why I like to try to go for these 4-hour stretches, because then after that, I mean, it doesn't matter if I take a little while to get into the next one, and it doesn't even have to be 4 hours for the next one. But once you get into it, if you go out of it, there's I don't know, there might be 15 minutes wasted before you really, at least me, I'm at the level I need to be with that project or any other project. So I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that happens to.
No, you're not. You're not at all.
No, statistically, it takes 15 to 20 minutes to get yourself back into a project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's for other people.
It's statistically it's that way, but it's important that we at least stand up every hour and let our body, like our spine starts to get compacted. So just to stand up and breathe, just for a minute or two. And that helps to reinvigorate our mind as well. So
that's a great idea. I forget that.
Yeah. And I read something that suggested that you really have 4 hours of compact, intense creativity at your mental disposal per day. And guard that with your life.
Yes.
The rest of it, it can be, nuts and bolts things, simple tasks, but the core of it, that's what you've got, and make sure that you make it work.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how a telephone can be extremely disruptive. If you're the person who always answers the phone, no matter what, that's throw you off. And then you got to sit there, you finish the conversation. You might take you 5 minutes to remember what you were doing before.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. The phone is so disruptive for me.
Why don't people answer their phones anymore? I just can't figure it out.
That may be part of the reason.
Yep. I think it is. Yeah.
Not to mention that so many of the calls are something you don't want to answer anyway.
True. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yeah. So all about clarity. I think we covered a lot of good points, and being clear that potatoes are really good for you.
Yeah, my wife loves potatoes too.
Yep.
Yeah.
We like to do a combination of Idaho potatoes and sweet potatoes and at the same meal. Greg, you can probably go along with that one.
Yeah, we have an air fryer now too, so that's fun for doing stuff.
Yeah, we've got that as well. Yeah,
really into the art.
Yeah. So here, there's Val's website, vallow.me, and this is, just to make sure when you get there, this is what it'll look like. You can't hardly miss it. Got the view of the potato farms there, and the distillery if you know where to look.
I absolutely love these hand-drawn visuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think in a book they would be so powerful.
Oh, well, it's coming. It's coming, as you've noticed.
Yeah.
I'm working on it right now.
Of your book, what are you calling it?
Map It.
Map It.
Yep. And it's on its way.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, there we go.
Very nice.
And it's going to have all kinds of maps in it, obviously.
Yes.
Yes. So there you go. It's coming.
Nice.
Yeah. I bought a book one time on audio mixing, and it was the three-dimensional spheres and space, and also it was just amazing. Like it really represented, like this is what a jazz mix looks like. This is what a rock mix looks like. This is country kind of thing with all the parts. It was really. I looked at it. I saw it in a music store, and I was going to buy it, and I picked it up. And it was like $80. Oh my god! No, and then I walked away. No, there's probably a whole lifetime of somebody's experience in that look.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
That's still a hefty price.
Yeah, but it really is amazing, how well they had visualized it, even had a way of the equalization and all sorts of stuff. It was just amazing amount of information in an image.
There definitely is.
It's yeah.
So I guess now we've got everybody fired up. They want to go out and get some poutine or get some kind of potato dish or potato pancakes.
Potatoes for Friday. Yay.
Baked potatoes.
Yeah.
Now, can you distill potatoes?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's why there's that distillery in the middle. They make an amazing gin, really, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See? Learn something new every day.
Yeah. We're not just we're not here just for business.
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
What do they say? All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
We don't want that.
No. Yeah.
And if you guys ever do make it to Vancouver, to drive up Howe Sound, go through Whistler, go to Pemberton, is probably one of the most beautiful drives anywhere in the world. It's just like really phenomenal. Yeah. And if you go into Whistler, you'll find out that almost everybody there has an Australian accent. But
interesting.
All right. I'm not going to speculate on how that happened, but
so for one, Australians, like the young people, are all over the world working in some resort, right? They work on the beaches and the ski hills and all this stuff. And they like food and they like drinking. So where's better place than a ski resort like Whistler? And I kind of joke that, maybe people have to adopt an Australian accent in order to work there in Whistler, but that's probably
that could be.
You're going to be perceived as an outsider if you have some sort of a twang or a Joycey accent,
Yeah. When I was traveling, and Ozzy told me that they figured about 20% of the population, the young people under the age of 30, were out traveling somewhere at any given time. It's part of that walkabout tradition, right?
Yeah.
And if you're in some outback in Australia or someplace in the Caribbean, which one looks more appealing?
Right. Yeah. Well, it all makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some beautiful spots in Australia too, but anyway, but it's part of their thing to go out and explore the world and see the world.
That's smart. Get an idea of what else is going on besides whatever you grew up with. That's always a good idea.
Yeah.
Did you know Australia has all kinds of mountains and skiing as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And New Zealand too.
I think of it as a flat country, flat continent, but it's not really in all parts.
Yeah.
In many parts.
It's big, and there's huge difference between north and south, right?
And east and west.
And east and west. Yeah. So it's fun. Yeah, Val, we are part of an Australian collaboration group on Tuesdays. You should come join in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
It's an interesting flavor.
Yeah,
Australians can be very
3 o'clock
direct
your
sometimes.
time, so please do it sometime.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Give me the details.
It's not like any other networking group.
Yeah. What were we talking about? What the end of the hour says? Oh, I guess it's time for go. Well, so piss off, everyone.
Right. Yep. Yeah, there's no excess of good manners. There's enough, but never too much.
Yeah.
So
Don't want to overdo anything.
that's right.
And we're gonna get letters from the Australian Tourist Bureau,
Yeah, I know. We'll be sued for defamation or something. Oh well,
I suspect not. I think they cultivate that image.
I was going to say that we'll have people cheering us on for saying these things. Yeah. They don't want to be mistaken for Americans,
No. No.
I don't think they are.
No, they're not. They're never known one that was mistaken for American. Yeah.
That was awful.
There's a certain amount of rivalry between New Zealand and Australia too.
Yeah,
if you make a wrong guess on the accent, you can get snapped at.
Right? Oh, they have some really, really bad and culturally offensive jokes that go back and forth between.
I'll bet, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got. I traveled with a group of Australian women. I've got a bunch of rude things that they say about Australian men, but I won't repeat any of those things here.
Well, I'm not going to say anything about what I've heard between Oz and Kiwis either.
Yeah.
Don't go there. Not happening. Yeah. Dangerous area.
I think that's kind of human nature or something. Sometimes the xenophobia or whatever is most amplified between two people who are actually more similar, but they don't really want to admit it. Yeah. Right. So it's like neighboring European countries can be like that,
Or here in Big Sur, in the Big Sur area, it's North Coast and South Coast. And then, like people from the North Coast will say, oh, no, it's all one Big Sur. And people from the South Coast will say, that's what you think.
And how wrong you are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's always
yeah.
Geographically, in terms of miles, not that far apart, but in terms of mindset, different world.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like I grew up in the Vancouver area, North Vancouver and West Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to say the whole purpose of the West Vancouver Police Department was to keep the riffraff from North Vancouver out, right? And it was like, it was complete mindset difference.
Yeah.
Like the school board, the approach to the school board in North Vancouver versus West Vancouver was just night and day. West Vancouver, they thought they were competing with private schools.
Uh-huh.
And they actually actively recruited students to come to their school. In North Vancouver, we haven't got anything figured out. Show up on first week of September and we'll sort it out. Like they didn't really care anything about it.
Uh-huh.
That's just night and day.
Yeah. Well, different cultures right next to each other.
Yeah. So there we go. So Val could probably go on the difference between Whistler culture and Pemberton culture. What's that in less than half an hour away, isn't it?
On a good day.
On a good day, yeah.
Right.
When there's not fires in between.
Yeah.
Fires, floods, avalanches, snow.
Lots of snow. Yeah.
Well, that all sounds familiar. Yeah.
That all sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I can see what tomorrow brings, right?
Right. Yeah. The constants of modern life at this point, boy, you really get there.
Yeah. Anyway, so okay, we should reiterate what we talked about here. We go back to our clarity.
Yes.
Were we clear about what we talked about? Okay.
Yeah, and I think the whole basis is make sure you really know what you're wanting to do, what your message is, what you want to put forward, and then the rest of it goes from there. And I think we talked about whatever that is, whatever that clarity, if you're consistent with your branding, with your images, with your social media, YouTube, and everything paints a similar picture. Like Roy, Betty, and I do like an assessment with the company, and they say we'll take a look at their online presence and whether they're remotely coherent at all. And it's surprising that people aren't, because we tend not to look at our own stuff much, right? So you're in the networking meetings, and then you're saying you're a dog artist or something like that, and then you go back onto the to the LinkedIn profile and you did something completely different.
Yeah,
and so
all too often that's true.
Yeah, so all of us, we can help you put together a coherent message, and starting from scratch. Maybe you don't know what that is yet, and we can help you come up with some clarity, and then help you roll out with Val's beautiful images and writing, and I'll get all those pieces put together.
Yep.
Yeah. And you can have more coherence than our broadcast today.
I think, yes.
Yeah. But see, that's the other thing too, and that's why we like Val's stuff, is because we like having fun, and her stuff just seems to say fun, fun graphics. They're not just boring technical. You got the information about it, but you present it in a way that's kind of fun and colorful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I found that I didn't have color in my life and my business, and this has just been really a really good tool for me and for others as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so look up Val. She's on the interweb almost everywhere. She's a LinkedIn profile and the website that we showed earlier. I guess I'll put it up there one more time.
Yeah, please do.
And yeah.
And how can they get in touch with us?
And well, you can come visit us at totaltrafficandconversion.com.
Oh.
And we're all three of us have LinkedIn profiles and multiple identities, but we'll talk about that later. But so, I guess I should say about Total Traffic and Conversion, we're a collaboration. So there's so Roy was doing his thing, and Betty was doing her thing, and Val was doing her thing, and then we're hoping to combine all of our superpowers to provide a very full suite of solutions for people. And I think in all cases, it starts with clarity about what it is you want to do, what do you want to get out of it. So we'll start there. Betty's process, especially, she'll sit down with somebody and with her process and get clarity about what they want to do and what they want to get out of it, and we'll go from there. So again, reach out to Val, Roy, myself, Betty. Go visit Total Traffic and Conversion. We got quite a few articles, thanks, quite a few broadcasts from the past. Got more that we probably could add to it, but there's a lot there. And happy Friday, everyone.
Happy Friday.
We should have had a potato contest,
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time.
Who's going to bring the potatoes?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, everybody brings their favorite potato dish, right?
Sounds like a school potluck to me.
Yeah, and then maybe a potato joke contest.
Oh, potato jokes! Now you're on to something. Okay.
Ooh.
I think I'll sign in from the beer farmers, where all of this conversation
yeah.
originated from.
Yeah. Right?
And
now that'll bring clarity.
yeah, there's a Nova Scotia production, and there's a big thing about a potato gun.
Oh yes, yeah. My sons made those, and it was interesting and very dangerous.
Interesting and dangerous.
Yeah, I believe they're illegal in California, like so many other fun things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, happy Friday, everyone. Come check in with us. Come see what happens here next week.
Enjoy the weekend.
Yeah, we promise.
Enjoy the holiday.
What else it is?
All righty.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.